Want to talk some football?
Let's go.
Green 19! Green 19! Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of Breaking Down the Game. Tonight, on the eve of Thanksgiving, I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine from the PackAttack, Bernard. How you doing, Bernard?
Doing great, man. Doing
All
great.
right.
You know, love to be sitting here chatting about Packle football, and let's go.
So the first thing I want to talk about, Bernard, is tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So I want to ask you, what do you think the Packers should be thankful for this year, if anything?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's tough. I mean, just be thankful that we not the Minnesota Vikings who has zero Bowls and zero championships. You know what I mean? And just be thankful for that. Be thankful that that we had two great Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. You know what I mean? And that I know you lived in the 70s and the 80s, so I can't really relate to you, but my childhood, all I know was Favre and Rodgers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I haven't, this season's been kind of rough because I haven't lived through the dark ages, and who knows when Rodgers leaves, we might have to, that might come sooner rather than later. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think we have to keep things in perspective that we're kind of spoiled little bitches when it comes to NFL fandom. Being having back-to-back Hall of Fame players, and how many losing seasons have we had in the past 30 years? A handful, but not too many, right?
Yeah.
So we got to keep that in perspective. And of course, I love that we're thankful that we're not the stupid Minnesota Vikings, right?
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, my disdain for the Vikings. So with that said, Vikings are by far my least favorite team in the NFL. Do you have a least favorite team?
Oh, I'm right there with you, man. It's Minnesota, and I mean, I just every time I talk about that team, every time I think about that team, it's so much anger pumping inside of me. Like they act like they're all a dynasty, and they talk like they're a dynasty, and like they talk like they're the Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Green Bay Packers. Like, how many Super Bowls you have in your trophy case? And then they want to talk about, but we have two Hall of Fame quarterbacks and two Super Bowls. Well, the last time I remember, have you had Randy Moss, Warren Moon, Chris Carter,
Yeah.
Aiden, Brett Favre, who else? Dante Culpepper, even though he wasn't, great, but he was still good, you know what I mean? And
For a couple of years he was great.
yeah. And the Purple People Eaters, and any Super Bowls you have. So you want to talk about us having two Super Bowl, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks and two Super Bowls? Well, at least we got two Super Bowls out of those two great Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So
I'll be honest, I live in the area, that. It's a nice place to live, but I just can't stand the fans, and I can't stand that team,
I mean, the Chicago Bears, I have some respect for. Like that rivalry is a historic rivalry, even though it hasn't been a rivalry since far from Goal. But the Vikings, I don't think of them as a rivalry. I just think of them as a cancer, man. It's a big purple cancer. And trust me, I can go on a big rant about the Vikings all day, but I'm not gonna. Because respectfully, this is your show.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Anytime you want to bag on the Vikings, I'm game.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe we'll do a special episode dedicated to our Vikings hatred someday.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I wanted to ask you, 2023, if we start looking at this roster, it's starting to look like 2023 could be a rebuild year, or the year that the Packers choose to start rebuilding this team.
Yeah, I kind of do think 2023 we could be in a rebuild mode, but Yeah, I do kind of. At first, I was like, "Is this a rebuild or this is a retool?" But I think this is more like a rebuild. And plus, having
Yeah.
Rodgers under center, um, I mean, he said after that loss against the 49ers, he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild, and it looks like that's what he's in right now. So we'll see how this.
Yeah.
I mean, this season, personally, I don't think you know I'm not optimistic that we can turn it around.
What do you think of the whole idea that the Packers are a player-led team?
Well, sometimes it's good to have your players lead, but I just think with this team, I don't know if the I don't know if this team should be going player led. I think this team needs to have leaders from this, from the coach. I think this would be a coach led team, and I just think that like I don't know. I just think that this team needs to be coach led because we're seeing that this team has a hard time of getting up to play football. Like even Rogers, he said that their first great practice was week 8, something like this year. Like it took you week 8 to have a great practice or something like that. Like that's gotta sink in your head. Like something's going on in that locker room, or something's going on that this team is not energized and preparing to play football.
Yeah, you're going to have leaders on the team that are players, but what does that mean? And what is a good leader? What makes a good leader?
Yeah,
And what are the Packers lacking in leadership this year? Because I think it's pretty evident that we don't have one of those dogs, as higher point of view and Packer fan in Vegas would say.
I know there's different ways to lead, right? Like there's different ways to lead. Like people are gonna lead by example. People are gonna be like a rah guy, a vocal leader. Rogers, I think he's a leader, but we all know that he's not no rah guy. He's not a vocal leader. He's not gonna yell and scream and pump guys up and galvanize the troops. Which it's just that's it's fine. That's who he is, and that's what made him been successful for
Yeah.
for for 10 plus years. But I just think that that like you really can't change people who they are. Like we can't force them to be a vocal leader because let's be honest, he's just not gonna that's not his in his DNA. Rogers'
Yeah.
leadership is to go out there, make great plays, throw great footballs, win us games, and he's gonna lead through his play.
I tend to agree with you. I think that Rodgers, as a leader, needs to look at getting more on the level of his players and the like the receivers and the other players that he's working with, rather than being this shining example and expecting everyone to come up to his level. Yeah, all we can do is read between the lines and give our opinions. So they
Yeah,
may not mean shit in the real world because we don't really know what happens there.
yeah,
And I think any fan who thinks they know everything really should check themselves
yeah.
before they Shrek themselves. I'm going to ask this question in a general sense. What
Yeah.
do and I'm talking about sharpening the knife.
Rough, 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 rough.
Okay.
What do the Packers need to do the rest of the year while they think about sharpening the knife? What do they need to get better at?
Um, that's an well.
Everything?
First of all, yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of things on this team that need to get better at. Both, I mean, three phases: special teams, defense, and offense. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna go on the offensive side of the ball.
Okay.
I think they need to. I mean, the last few weeks they have been getting, improving. What I mean, especially with the rookies. Like Christian Watson, man, like he's really come on. Like
Yeah.
the last 2 games, he's really been coming out and proving a ton of people wrong. So I'm really happy for him. Um, I think the offense needs to. Hopefully, they can improve a lot better. Hopefully, in this Eagles game, we can see some win or lose. We can see some great signs on the offensive side of the ball. Give us something because even though this season more likely, well, mathematically we're not out of it, but even if our season, if we don't make it to the playoffs, I think we can use this as a confidence booster for next year.
Sure. That's similar to what I'm thinking, Bernard. And specifically, I'm talking about getting these young guys a lot of experience, get them some game experience.
Yeah.
So with that said, just one last quick question
Yes.
is: at what point do you want to see Aaron Rodgers sit down and give Jordan Love a good look at quarterback?
Let him let I mean, and I'm not saying it's good, all right. But me personally, let Rogers finish the year. Let him finish the
Okay.
season.
Aaron Rodgers is hyper competitive, whether you believe that or not. You don't get to his level of play without
Yeah,
being hyper competitive. So, being a person who has pride in what they do and being hyper competitive, he's going to want to play every game unless
yeah.
he's not 100%.
I
So,
mean, and I know I'm like kind of classic here, but I feel like when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you don't bitch him.
yeah,
When you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, I think he deserves to play the season out. So I mean,
yeah.
that's how I think. I know a lot of people have their personal opinions, but
Yeah, and I personally, I'll see what you think after I say this, but I don't feel like his actual skills are diminishing. I just think he's
yeah.
having a bad year. So I don't think it's a matter of him not being the giving the Packers the best possible chance to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think he's the whole problem. Like we said, there's plenty of problems on this team, but I do think he is part of the problem. Like,
Sure.
like he definitely deserves some of the blame pie. You know what I mean? But his play, him missing throws and not being as accurate. Now again, I think the dumb injury might have a big factor, but he said he's not using that as an excuse. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I I don't think that again he's not the solution, but at the same time he's not the problem. So
Hey Bernard, thank you so much for joining. I mean, it was a lot of fun being able
yeah,
to talk to you, and I'm so glad we were able to finally do this.
yeah, man. I appreciate coming on here, and it's my first time for us to have a one-on-one chat, and
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it went good. It went very great, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
and we'll continue to do these, this season and next season, and
Yeah,
we'll obviously do our weekly streams whenever we have time. We're all busy dudes, but
yeah.
I know we love talking Packer football. So,
All right.
thanks again, Bernard. Make sure that everyone subscribes to Bernard Nixon's channel. I'm going to put the link to it in the description of this video. I know Bernard hasn't had time to do recent content, but we're hoping that he gets to it soon,
Yeah.
because I think you have a lot of good things to say.
Once the draft comes, I'll start getting to my mock drafts. See what,
Okay.
and which we all know that hopefully it will be a predictable draft, but we know the Packers somehow, some way they're gonna find some way to.
Oh, surprise us for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
man.
for sure. So thanks again, Bernard.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for watching.